to bruise, that's right.
Welcome back after a long hiatus to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
And we're doing it.
We hope. We have rallied together into the car.
That we've overcome our bad case of the yips.
Yeah, we had the yips, you guys. We think that's the only diagnosis for what happened.
When I read the definition of having
the yips.
When I read the definition of the yips being something that happens to sometimes professional athletes,
But like
when they
golfers,
lose their small motor skills.
golfers and cricket
But
players.
then it said only sometimes it comes back.
Yeah,
I thought, what if you got a permanent case of the yips?
you might.
That would be really bad. So we're just counting.
We're hoping
on the fact that we think we can pull out of a bad case of the
but
yips.
it's not just us that had the yips. I think my phone had
Our
the yips.
technology had the yips.
Yeah.
Everything. And then international travel does not lend
help.
itself to success.
No. And I staggered back from my travels last night, and I'm still awake. So,
Congratulations.
I mean, as of today. Well, coming this direction, though, you feel really virtuous because woke up at 4:30, just, like I just do that. I'm just
That's
up.
the way
I'm
I
just
am.
up early and on top of it.
Oh,
And,
that's good.
It will not last, but today it worked that way. Got back last night, and it was a hoot. But Rachel and I have been very out of contact during that time.
We
because
have. Well,
I
we did
didn't-
talk briefly. But
But my phone, we did not splurge with the international plan for my phone. So I could only really text if I was on Wi-Fi. And that's a pain. You're like running around waving your phone in the air trying to catch a Wi-Fi from somewhere. Anyway, so I felt very out of touch.
That's not the
Anyway.
best situ.
No.
Yeah,
So,
but we're back in the flesh
Back.
together
in black.
with so much to catch up on.
I know.
So what was it? You told me earlier that there was something. There's a question and a nagging. Not nagging. I mean that whoever asks the question, you're not nagging. It comes up often though, and I feel like we don't address it. So I have one thing up my sleeve, but did you have something else that you want to talk about?
Well, I had noticed a sort of a refrain that was coming through. And I think it was in one of our lost troubled episodes that we said we were going to talk about it or something. Someone had asked about date night.
That's the same thing that
Is
I
it the
thought we
same
should
one?
talk about.
Because somebody asked about that, and then maybe we just said we were going to talk about it, and then I noticed
we really did, but it
there
kept...
were comments of like, "Oh, please talk about that," and then
Right.
you honked your foghorn on
the internet.
Instagram,
I
and
know.
then I feel like a number of people, as I was
It's a
breezing
good thing
over
to
the
talk about.
comments,
That's
people
what I
were
thought.
missing your point.
Yes,
I
I
felt
know.
like we needed to.
I thought
to
the
clarify.
same thing. And I actually wanted to say about, so to catch up the listeners on what I was saying, I've actually had that picture. So that picture came to me a long time ago. And I've had it in my Instagram drafts. And I kept not doing it because I kept thinking no one will understand what I'm actually trying to say here. It's hard to say. But it is that couple on the beach saying a godly man never stops pursuing his wife. Right? I think that's what it
Something
said.
like that. Even after he has her heart.
Even after he has her heart. And you and I have joked about reverse these things. Like,
But here's the problem, and this is what I think people were missing, is that you're not actually, your problem is less with the content of that statement.
yeah.
And more with the fact that this is not your problem, wives.
Right, because
is
this is
not
that
your-
image being... Do you suspect this is the image
No.
being pinned to men's
No.
Pinterest boards?
No, it is not.
Like, do you think that there's a man being like, yes, look at that romantic black and white couple on the beach. I should be godly like him.
And the thing
I should
is,
go after my wife like
Is it
that.
true that a man should continue? Yes, of course it is. Like, yeah.
It is totally. And
Clearly.
I actually think... I was trying to think about how I could be more clear on this, but the thing that I'm really where I think the trouble is So there's a shocking lack of definitions going into this discussion. And one of the ways that happens is that we live in a world that is telling women all the time what they deserve.
Yes.
And saying, drop anyone who doesn't do things the way you want them to do it. And that's not even an exaggeration. I have all these things that people send me, and one of them recently that ends with is this whole thing about enough with you waiting for other people to choose you. It's like, you show them how it's done and choose you first. Not even a joke. I mean, and I'm saying, my point is that in that context, with that kind of teaching all the time about demand what you want and get what you deserve and do whatever the heck you want to do because you're the goddess, in that world, to just kind of throw in, because a godly man should do that.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, there's so much cultural baggage around that it is kind of like, well, now what? Because now, what are we talking about? Are we talking about, because I feel comfortable saying, I have been married now for 16 years. And I think in many ways, that's totally true of my husband, that he has never stopped pursuing me even after he had my heart, and that's a sweet thing that I could say about him. We have a very affectionate, loving, kind marriage and friendship. We really enjoy each other, and he keeps an eye on me in the sense of he knows what's going on in my life. He knows.
I don't even have a problem saying, if you had a husband who quit as soon as he married his wife, I would have no problem saying, yeah, that's a guy who needs to tune up the godliness.
And it kind of depends, though, on what do you mean by pursuing
But I
her.
also think, though, that some of this has less to do with that in the abstract. Is it true that a husband should be that way? Yes, it is. But is it the wife's job
to patrol that?
To patrol it amongst the
women.
wives. And so it's kind of like, honestly, the golden rule, there's a big difference between, Christ telling us, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or
Tell
make sure
others
that everyone else is doing unto you the way you would like to be done by. And
which is what all of the current application of the golden rule is all about, how to get what's yours out of it.
Right. Now, is it true that those other people should be doing unto you?
Exactly.
Yes, it is
100%.
true. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with being a little selfish twerp about it and wanting all of the golden rule traffic to be going one way, and that is towards you.
And I do want to say something, though, else that I think is interesting, that has absolutely slipped into Christian women's idea of marriage.
Okay.
I was totally laughing at one of our friends posted it was like an old can't even remember. It was like a funny 1800s illustration of some kind of a guy with a test tube, doing a science experiment. There's this woman staring daggers at him from the hall with like a bonnet on, like she's in the background looking something ugly in the background. And it was the meme someone had made this about, when your wife says it's fine, and something about you begin experiments to discern when you did not love her as Christ loves the church. And, okay, side point. But the thing what I'm trying to say is that in the church, there is a lot said about servant leadership and date your wife and all of these things that are absolutely fine things, but that it starts smearing into this idea that men live to be servants to their women and to their women's emotional whims and bad jobbery, right? So it's not just saying keep an eyeball on your godly wife and love her well. It's saying whatever she doth You be the man who does what she wants. You know, like you be
Fetch
her.
and carry.
Yes, exactly. And so it's actually the inverse of that stereotypical 50s housewife.
I was going to say that exact thing.
Where it's saying when the man comes home, he wants to have the table set, no sign of a mess anywhere, the kids looking clean
You
and
look fresh.
slippers. You should look fresh and have new lipstick on, and that's what he deserves.
Actually, here's the thing. I think that if somebody...
That's actually rad if you can.
Yes, it is. And if the women who were posting these little missives about the husband's jobs, if they were, if that was a sort of in the ratio of 1 to 50, and they were posting all of those kind of the most atrocious 50
Yes.
things you could ever find.
Well, because these are the people who would absolutely horse laugh and be so angry if you said a wife should continue to try to look good for her husband.
Well, no, think of this. If the men were all
If the
telling
men
each
were
other,
saying a godly wife continues
Never
to take
stops.
care of her figure even when she's having lots of babies.
yeah, can
You'd
you
be like,
imagine?
Whoa, dog. And this is how you know that culturally there is a place you're allowed to poke and there's a place
Yeah.
you're not allowed to poke. And this is why it's actually, I know that one, and I said this in some of the comments, that particular meme, I am not proposing the opposite to
No,
say I'm
that's
leaning
the thing.
against this. I'm not saying, no, a husband should never care about his
Right.
wife. Because we actually, you might not know all that much about Moscow. But Becca and I both have published books with Canon Press. And Canon, the real meat and potatoes of Canon for many years has been family books, family series. Actually, this really ties in well with current events. Family series, which we are all about godly Christian marriages, raising
But
children, sacrificial.
I will also say family series, which are heavy on the men step up and take care of
way
your people.
heavy on it to the
Yeah.
point that it's so
it's
we're
not
not
like we're not opposed
we
to
don't
this.
come from a world that thinks low bar for men at all. So in that context, just to be clear, we are really in favor of that. We are a favor at every wedding you go to. We're talking about the man being called to lay down his life for his family.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it. But this is the thing. So I was going to say, in the church is just not popular to talk about, like, servant leadership and what the man has to do for the woman is popular. And
Yes.
it is the cow you cannot touch is how women behave.
Exactly.
And that's why I like to
duties for women.
duties that are
Obligations you might
women,
have to
that
your
is
husband.
that is a thing that pastors dare not
No.
talk about. And so that's part of the context for this. And what I was going to say is, though, biblical language does not actually, like, when you think about, so the husband is the head of the wife. Do we say that a head may never stop pursuing the body?
Well,
But you say it may not become severed from the body.
but it also there is a lot of language of laying down your life.
Yes, yeah,
And
but I think what I'm trying
all
to
of
say
that.
is, though, this
I'm
kind of
just saying
imagery
that's not
doesn't
the
go
only
over
analogy. Yeah.
well. No,
There's-
I'm saying, though, but talking about the husband being the head of the wife.
Oh, yeah, no.
If it had said a godly man is the head of the wife, so he should never stop pursuing her, people would not like it.
No.
They'd be nuh-uh.
So the question then about that's sort of like, in context, we have zero problem with a husband pursuing his wife. Of course a husband should pursue his wife. The thing that the wife should not be doing is patrolling how well the husband is pursuing her.
And that's part of, there are a lot of nesting layers of this
It's
one,
like
but I felt
you have enough of your own little troubles. You should be working on those.
I have troubles enough as it is. without, like, isn't that an old cartoon of the man reading the book about how women should be good wives and the wife reading the how to be a better husband book?
Probably. But the thing is we all have our own sanctification to take care of, and we can't spare the time to try to be sanctifying someone else.
You're not the Holy Spirit.
No.
And turns out in this particular area, you don't even have an objective view about how things are going.
But at the same time, if I was talking to a woman whose husband ignored her paid her no mind,
Yeah.
spend all his time on video games, all of those. Of course, I would feel awful for her, and I would be trying to, deal with, but the one thing I don't think is helpful is for all the wives to be passing around little memes to make themselves feel like their husbands aren't cut.
Right. And I actually have to say that even in this, I don't think that particular meme is all that dangerous. I just think it is reflecting something that is dangerous if you start lumping in that kind of thinking with all the garbage that I'm usually talking about in my Instagram feed. Then you have this slow merge into the Christian world. Like now we're talking about godly marriage, and in a godly marriage, I'm the boss of the world, and my husband cannot stop
I have
pursuing
to take a quick tangent here to say that so Ben and I were just in England because he had to be there for a conference and I was supposed to be with him. And then since we were already on the other half of the world, and Ben had a bunch of miles, so he was like, let's go to Greece for a couple days. So we did that. We tagged that onto the end, which was really super fun. And so we got that little additional couple days that was just the two of us, and it wasn't a work trip. It was just, and that kind of never happens.
Yeah,
for us.
that's
so
really
that
fun.
was really fun. But I will say that being in Greece just for a few days, it's like you pop out for a second from the America, and even England has a very different vibe, right? And the thing that was so noticeable to me is there are not rainbow pride flags pasted all over the universe. I didn't see a single anything. Not one rainbow, not one pride, not one. I saw one lesbian couple in the airport on the way home in Athens. And I was like, weird. That's the first one. And then, of course, they were Americans. I heard him talk and was like, they're Americans. Then you land back in London. I mean, it's sort of like aggressively in your face. Lest you think we are immoral people, let us reassure you that we are skeezy pervs.
We actually hate normal sexuality.
We are pervy. And then we come home, and it's just everywhere in your face. But the other thing that I noticed in Greece is like you step out for just 1 second. We are so bossy. It's like every single thing is shouting at you to take charge of your life, be more relaxed, stop letting people boss you around.
Other people tell you what you're worth and immediately demand that all people listen to you.
And it's like, just for a minute, it was like, you know what? I didn't see any bossy remarks.
Commanding plaques. No plaques that told people where to get off.
It gave me this feeling that, like, I had this kind of a moment where I realized this too, because it was somebody who had an Instagram story or a Facebook story or whatever, and it's this woman saying like, I just realized that I had not taken the time for myself today that I needed, and I need that time, and I need to relax, and I just needed to get out into nature, because if I don't take the time, then I am not going to be as prepared.
At my best.
And so I was like, isn't it funny that actually Americans have this thing where we can turn even our downtime relaxing into stress.
And also, how can I be more effective at relaxing?
Yeah.
Could I maybe get my relaxation off of this conveyor belt any faster?
It's not just me that needs to relax. I'm going to tell you that you need to relax.
Everybody put your hands on your desk.
And you need to tell your husband, and you need to make sure.
Americans have strengths, but boy, we have some weaknesses.
But I was like, we actually are
the land of the bumper sticker.
We are a bossy group. It's like we're telling everybody how to run their lives all the time. And I'll tell you too, though, that there's a downside to the Greek lifestyle too. we just kept seeing in all of these. I mean, talk about chill. They're taking it in a chill way, other than their traffic. But there's a lot of men just kind of sitting outside with their shirts unbuttoned, just staring at the world. And they're just not, and then they're dozing off, and then they're coming back. And that right there, I think that's what all of our hustle bustle Pinstagram people are trying to get us to do.
If only we could sit around and space out.
Get a greeting card and tell somebody to space out.
You know what will fix this? Everybody throw all your stuff away right now.
Get rid of your stuff.
Get rid of it all. You can't stand to look at it. And I can't stand to know that you're looking at it.
Get rid of your clutter. Get rid of toxic people.
Let's just scrap it all.
Well, the one thing I won't get rid of is my megaphone.
My bumper stickers.
I'm gonna tell you how to behave.
So I feel like we should go back to this because I, in no time, think that a husband should not prioritize how his wife is doing or how they are doing together. But I actually thought I wanted to connect this to something that's real current eventsy, which is Josh Harris.
Oh,
And
jeez.
that was
I'm not sure I can talk about that without...
growling. You're gonna growl at him. Well, the
might hiss.
thing it's I've never read I Kissed Dating Goodbye.
No.
But I mentioned the family series, and our dad wrote a book called Her Hand in Marriage, which is about biblical courtship.
Yep.
And
It was the same time.
it was in the same era, and I think it was before I Kissed Dating Goodbye, but
They
I'm
came out
actually
right
not
around
sure.
the same time. And the funny thing was, so this is like late 90s, and they were kind of, honestly, they were kind of the two books on courtship. It was like...
they are. I mean, I don't know that there are more.
It was
There
I
probably
Kissed
are by
Dating
now.
Goodbye, and then our dad wrote Her Hand in Marriage, and it was right when Ben and I were, like just sort of getting together, dating, getting married, and then Josh Harris and his wife were sort of the couple.
He didn't get married until after the book had been out.
Yes,
bit,
but
right?
it was right around the
Right.
same time, because I think they've been married like close to the same amount of time that Ben and I were. But the thing is we always hated it. Even
Yes.
though it was like, we always thought they had the wrong end of the stick.
That I didn't read the book, but it always had this is the thing though, and without having read it, I'm just going to say this, which is that the things that he apologized for in that book were probably all just biblical sexuality principles, right? Like the things when he was like, I'm sorry that I hurt you with this. And you're talking to people who are sleeping around before marriage. It's not Josh that hurt them by saying they shouldn't be sleeping around.
No.
It's the Word of God says
But
you should not be doing that.
Here's the thing. There were plenty of people that were into that scene
that were
back
weird.
then, and we always had a problem with the kind of, if you tick these boxes and you perform these procedures, then you will live happily ever after.
Yes, the vending machine to
and
things
that
work
was
out.
it was a genuine, I think it was a real genuine problem, and I just remember
100%. But let's be real. So was the dating culture.
Exactly.
So it's not like Josh Harris invented a way for people to sin against each other.
No.
And that's the thing that Dad would always say about the courtship.
Exactly.
The courtship model is that instead of just two idiots, you have six idiots, meaning the parents and the
and plenty of them were full on 6 idiots. I mean,
lots of people.
Yeah.
The reality is that in some situations, your chances might be much better with just 2 idiots involved. But the reason I bring that up is because I actually think it does connect. Because somebody in the comments on Instagram said that they thought some of this thinking had to do with the courtship culture because of the idea that men have to pursue or something. And then that made me think about it, because I thought, actually, if anything, I think that what courtship, when I say courtship, I need to be clear. The way that we did it, what it amounts to is not recreational dating.
Right.
Dating with a sincere interest in being married. Not like becoming betrothed early. It was essentially dating
if you
more
boiled
seriously.
it down, Dad would say, don't preheat the oven unless you're ready to cook.
Exactly.
So don't
preheat the oven if you know that you don't want to cook with that oven. Like, why would you do
But
that
it's also,
if you already know
if
this
your
is a bad
child
idea?
is 13.
Don't even
There's
consider
no
it.
reason to fire up the burners. No.
No, and so the idea being that basically given that a guy who's interested in a young girl and is seriously interested in, probably they already know each other from group things, and is interested in spending time with her one-on-one to get to know her better separately from whatever. Shake off those third wheel friends that get to know her would then talk to the dad. I mean, there is this formality of knowing your intentions are good.
Yeah.
Right? No, and accountability.
And having a dad who might not be as blown away by his hair as his daughter is.
And has a little more
cynical.
more kind of like,
side.
actually, I don't think you're the thing we're looking for. And also, and this is the thing that I'm super thankful for, is that, like, if you're dating just people that you enjoy, you would date all kinds of people that, like, there are lots. There were so many guys in a Christian community that I enjoy and that I liked their company, and that you had a similar sense of humor or whatever, but because we all knew at the outset that we weren't interested in getting married, we didn't put on a big relationship show.
Your
first.
bar for would I be willing to spend a couple hours watching a movie and eating popcorn with this person, that bar is pretty low, as opposed to, do I want to commit to spend the rest of my life with this man,
or do I want to even
children,
or do I want to even considering that?
Right.
That's it.
And so the thing is if he's not potential in the second sense, then don't accidentally find yourself there by going in
because
the
you're
other
just
way.
spending it. Yeah.
Because you start by saying, "Oh, we're just hanging out," and then you just get attached, and then you kind of a lot of people
miss them, and then you end up with people that you actually never. Yeah. You are not objectively. Desiring to marry this person.
In a clear-headed moment, you would have never chosen that person.
But you got into a fog.
You drifted in.
You preheated the dang oven, and now you think you ought to cook. And that's how it comes down to it. So all of this is to say that, like, but I do think that really shaped I think it plays a huge part in what you think emotions are for, and where emotions go in a relationship. Because I guess what I'm trying to say is there is a gutsiness to courtship that is having the cards on the table at the outset, that I'm seriously interested in you from the guy. I'm interested enough in you to put myself in an uncomfortable situation, to explain to your father what I'm thinking. And then you know, there is a gutsiness there that you then, as you date and do other things and get to know each other that way, there is a seriousness to the relationship from the beginning. Yeah. Which means that you're not kicking this off as though we're just going to see if passion overtakes us. Right? Like, that's not the point. And so I think it's kind of like, while it's very common for a couple to already really like each other at that fate, by the time that happens, they already really like each other, which is also why most of the time people are not courting for forever long time.
Well, okay, so back to the question about dating after you're married. Here is my thought here, is that I think we are spoiled rotten in one way, because we live in a small town. And so that means that it takes 6 minutes to get anywhere, you know. And so I have a lunch break, you know, between when I'm teaching at Logos. I see Ben at lunch virtually every day, because I'll be like, hey, you know, I call him and I'm like, hey, do you have a minute? And maybe we have lunch together. Or oftentimes I just drive over there. He hops in the car for a minute. We drive around the block 3 times while we're, you know, like, so how's your morning, you know, catching up stuff. Just see him, go grab a coffee, whatever. I go back to work. I see him at dinner. It's a small town, and life is easy in that way. And so we see each other all the time, and we talk all the time, and we go out and do stuff all the time. But I do know, like, I was just chatting with a friend in Oxford, and she was pointing this out. there are a ton of people where the husband leaves to work in London and they get on the train crazy early in the morning and they're not back till late in the evening.
Yep.
And so I think in that kind of a life where you really didn't see your husband as much, you had better put some time in.
Get it on the calendar because you need to.
Because it really is important. This, like, your marriage.
I would say, Luke and
really
I do
big
not
deal.
have. I still see him often, but not the way you see Ben all the time. Because most of the time, he has a lot of work lunches or working through. He's often busy.
And we haven't done this our whole marriage. It's just like
I know.
Recently,
but what I'm saying is, it goes in different phases, but it also goes in couples. Like if you both really enjoy going out to dinner, by all means do it. Like, I have no objection to people doing it once a week if that's what they want to do. I mean, like, that's great.
Okay, but let's say you had a marriage too where, like, he goes out with his friends and she goes out with her friends, but rarely do they do anything together.
Yeah.
I would be waving my arms and saying, you guys,
Stop
this
it.
is unhealthy.
Don't do boys' nights and girls' nights. We're a family nights.
Yeah.
Like, that. Do, like, absolutely.
Not that I have anything
But I
wrong
have
with
to
going out
say-
with friends, but I just mean if your social life is dominated by he hangs out with the guys, you hang out with the girls, or you're just off doing something else, or you just don't ever, like, he comes home and you both, like, retreat into your phones and you just don't. That's unhealthy, and it's gonna choke your marriage to death.
Right, and I would say that a big, I mean, and I know it's different for different couples, but for us, a huge part of our friendship and relationship is co-laboring in things and talking about what we're going to do and working through. Like, it is the friendship of being close together, shoulder to shoulder, working on things. So, like, when we used to have a flower shop, and I always thought it was amazing. There's always people with other personalities than ours, but Valentine's Day was a real time to notice that. When a couple would come in, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, this has got to be the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I remember some couple coming in, and it was like he was in a tux and with a white teddy bear, and she's in her dress, and he's buying a red rose to... Someone had it in their teeth. It was a time.
Oh, guess what? We just stayed at the hotel in London where the tango was first danced.
Woo.
Yeah.
Well, this couple would like to have been there. But my point is, I look at that, and I just zero interest for me in that. But I don't care if another couple likes that. I'm just saying that is not our personality.
No.
And I should tell you, so we got married after we were engaged for 3 months and then got married. And we courted for 3 months, then we were engaged for 3 months, then we were married. And then we had children. And we had children fast. So we ended up with 4 little peanuts really quickly. And it was our anniversary. And Mom was going to watch the kids. And we were both so fried dead. Like,
this is so funny. I thought
we
of
would
this
have
today.
been so unfun. You know what I mean? Like, it was sort of like we were looking at each other like, someone's going to watch the kids. But we're, like, just so tired that the idea of going out to a nice dinner just sounded like I might just fall asleep, or, like, it sounded really depressing, actually, is what it sounded like. It sounded like if we went and did that, we would have shrunk down into, like, look at how we've ruined ourselves, because you feel like I don't have any intellectual things, like it's like, what have you been thinking about? We're like, nothing. What have I been thinking about? I haven't been thinking about anything. Like, do you want me to tell you how hard my life is? Like, it was a time that was really hard. And so my husband was like, you know what we should do? We should go to the pool. And this is really funny because we drove through, for our anniversary, Wendy's for dinner and then went and did the tube slides at the pool together for like an hour and a half.
I remember that.
And the thing that's so funny is we laughed ourselves sick. We had an absolutely fabulous time because being at the pool and not being responsible for anyone who might be drowning or any, like, it was actually totally delightful. But I would never tell other people they had to do that. Like, that was that was a blessing to us at that time.
Yeah.
To do that.
And I think the bigger thing is that you really, if you both love each other and you want to be with each other, then you're going to make it happen.
It's the whole thick and thin.
And if
the
you
richer
don't,
and poorer and sickness and in health, you have a lot of different seasons. And some of them might be your sparkling dinner conversation seasons. And some of them...
And maybe you like to go off and sit in a restaurant where someone's playing the harp. And
oh, my word.
And you just do that. But
maybe you do. And Becca said one time that when her kids were little, when she and Ben would go out for dinner, that it felt like getting down off the roller skates.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. And Luke and I would have this problem occasionally where we would eat so fast because you think that you have to be cutting other people's food. Like we were acting like this was our big chance to eat. And you just wolf it down. And then we were like, well, what have we done?
Is I feel like make the most of whatever season you're in, because if you're in the time where you have little kids, and I think that I've picked up that there are women who, like, they have little kids, they can't afford a babysitter, they kind of feel like they would like to be going on dates with their husband, but they can't make it happen. And if you're in that phase, just, like, feed the kids mac and cheese and put them to bed and make a fun late night dinner for you and your husband.
Or if you're too tired to do that, just have an ice cream sandwich together late at night.
Yeah, like, seriously.
Just be fun about something.
Be fun. Like, make a big bowl of spaghetti or something. And I don't know, open a bottle of wine and a big bowl of spaghetti and just have a late night time.
Right, and so I would say...
Make a souffle.
The thing that I think date night, what I think many people are asking about, is what I have heard Christian teachers say, you must have a date night.
Do you want to know what Ben and I mean right now? If I say, or he says, you want to have a date? What we mean is, you want to have a glass of wine and we can sit down and watch a show.
That sounds solid. Sounds like a great date. And you know what
we actually started saying that because it was like, you want to have a date? Let's do that. Let's just sit down and put our feet up and have a glass of wine and watch
like a great idea. With our dating lifestyle right now amounts to, we recently went away for our anniversary and bought appliances. That was our anniversary.
That's fun.
That was our anniversary trip to appliance shop, and then we went to multiple thrift stores.
Well, okay.
We bought back to school supplies.
You want to know what we did in Greece? This is so funny because this actually.
Okay, Becca, never mind. Let me stop you there.
You do want to know?
Yes. No. I'm just like, we don't date. Just when we were in Greece together, or vacay.
No, this is what I'm telling you, is that we actually don't do that. Like that.
Yeah, that's
I think
great.
the last time that Ben and I went
really fun.
On a trip for fun, that was just the two of us. We did take a baby with us, and it was 2003, which was the last time that I think it was.
Was that France?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But the thing is we went to Greece, and there's a whole thing. If you go to Greece and you're just gonna go to Santorini and have a wild spring break fling is what I think most people do. Okay. We went to an island off the other side. We went only with carry-ons, and I packed the biggest hardback book you've ever seen. It's a Cambridge University Press. Like, you could use it as a booster seat. Huge book on the location of Homer's Ithaca. And the two of us, like, in our rental car, we have, like, Google Maps and this giant book. And we are, like, on the back weirdest roads and goat herds.
Fun.
And we were, like, scrambling up these little weird hills and finding old rock walls.
Sounds like a good time.
It was great stuff, but it was not your traditional, let's do a couple's massage and have a cocktail with an umbrella in it. No,
and the thing is, though, if that's what delights you, do it. But Luke and I, right now, our date nights consist of me really finding him at our new house where he's painting late by night, and bringing him a drink and sit and talk, or I sometimes even go so far as to try to help.
But the thing is, though,
laying
and I think
floor
this is important,
together, we did that.
You could I think it's really important. I don't think having a scripted date is important, but I do think having time together is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you fall out of the habit, then you won't enjoy it when you are together. And so I think like maintaining the habit of closeness with your husband,
yeah, and we have
is really important.
And we totally have been married long enough to notice the very different seasons, because in those seasons where we went to the water park for our anniversary, that time was very different, but the kids went to bed early.
Right.
So the evenings
it
was just us.
If you wanted, you could surprise him with a late night.
We could sit around
dinner.
and talk, but we had the evenings together all the time, even though at that time he had work and stuff to do. But it was like that was the time that we had. Well, the older your kids get, the more they're just still up. When you're like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking we were gonna have not this time, but a different kind of time.
Yeah.
But you realize, no, okay, so we have to be more intentional. But at the same time, as your kids are old enough to stay up later than you, they're also old enough to be left at home by themselves. So then we run out together. Yeah. We run out together to like go to the grocery store or to get something or to talk on the way and to be. You have to find ways to stay connected as a married couple.
I guess this could work as a tip. This is a marriage hack. Ready for this?
I am ready.
So this is so funny, but it actually is such a great system for us. We go on drives all the time, and it's if we need to talk. It's like, let's go on a drive.
Yeah.
And because, we can leave our kids at home. And it's so funny. Ben laughs because he's telling the kids, he was like, your mother knows that if she needs to talk to me, that's the way to do it. Because if he's driving, he has something to sort of do. And then he can sit and listen to me talk, and we can actually fully engage. If we're sitting together on the couch, it does not work.
I love that. Because, you know, it's possible that Luke and I are the opposites but not really. But I like having something to work on, like doing some handwork or something.
Yeah.
But when I am between projects, sometimes Luke will be like, so don't you have some knitting or something? And I think it's because I get really weirdly restless.
Yeah.
If I'm like, and he's tired from a whole day of, he's mentally engaged all day at work, and I am too. But the point is that it puts us on a better level for conversation, because my intensity for conversation slows down a little bit, so he does not have to keep it at 100% with me. And so then it's better. And also, he would always, if we watch a show, he will always fall asleep. That is absolutely what he does.
That is the telltale problem with us right now. That because if we're trying to like watch any sort of
watch this.
The next day we'll be like, did we watch that whole did we? Like, I don't remember it. Do you remember?
So really the Merkles have just been watching one show
over and over.
Yeah, one date, one show.
And we can't know if it was good. But the thing is that the going on a drive, we've always done that. Like when the kids were little and they were in their car seats and they would fall asleep, you know, and like even on just the 6-minute drive home, and we would look in the back and they would all be sacked out in your car seats. And it was so many trips back and forth to get them to bed.
People who live in cities probably are not impressed with their ideas.
No, but we would look back there and I'd be like, can you just keep driving for a minute?
Like,
and
we'll carry him in a minute.
And then we'd go drive through and get a coffee, and we'd just drive and talk. And then we would go home and take the kids up and do the million trips up the stairs and put them to bed and everything. But still, like, if I pick up Ben from work and I'm telling him about something, because that's the other thing, is you have privacy, because sometimes you need to talk about something you don't want all the kids involved in, but you don't want to be shooing them out all the time and saying, no, I'm, you know, and you don't want to be whispering in the corner of your bedroom. So we'll be getting close to home, and it's like, can you just keep driving for just a second while I finish telling you this? And so we just, I mean, it works. It really works with us. And so
another thing that I always do to Luke is much taller than I am. He is 6'6", and I am 5'7", so he will, just to give you, and I'm saying this works.
I'm curious where this goes.
Just saying it works for us, but from the time we were when we were little kids still, when we first got married, I will still sometimes randomly just, I can't show you all who are listening. I will randomly from across the room be like, I'm coming, and I will run and jump onto him or like into a piggyback. I'm just saying, don't do that if you don't have a history of doing that. Don't clean your husband out. That could kind of bring the mood down. But actually, the fact of doing that, our kids always think it's funny, and it's a joke. It's like, it's funny, but it is also playfully the way we were when we were young, even though we are much older now.
And I feel like being like affectionate with each other is like, it's just like that kind of thing. I don't mean like, I don't mean like
Luke
in a
likes
weird
to
way.
give me 50s kisses in front of the kids to horrify them, because you know, like in 50s movies where it seemed like the more passionate the kiss was meant to be, just the harder they smashed their faces together. And they're just like, he likes to do the dip and and the reality is, this is something that I would say also, don't be afraid to be affectionate towards each other in front of your children. It's so good for your kids to see you really, that you really love each other and that you are not being weird.
Yeah, and I do think wives can get extremely prickly hair.
Get out of the kitchen. That's okay, but this was the thing that I thought about that. I didn't say this about the meme. Maybe I shouldn't be even saying it now, but I was like, that whole idea of that a husband is not to be doing anything but pursuing his wife. I'm like, I do understand that scripture itself says, let her breast satisfy you at all times, and yet it does not mean literally at every moment. And but it was making me laugh because some people were like, the idea, if that meme had intended it sexually,
Right.
then every man would be on board with that, and all the women would be like, heck no, that's not what I meant. I meant acts of service, kind, helping with the dishes. That's what I meant. What I meant was not this. And I just think that that's a funny.
They weren't referring to Minnesota.
I don't think they meant to go to Minnesota. They did not mean.
But the thing is that I don't know. I feel like, yes, of course, I think it's hugely important for a husband and wife to be best friends. And you can't be best friends with a person that you don't spend time with.
No, but also when we just talked about all those different phases of dates and ways that we have had happy marriages, you don't have all of those phases at one time.
No.
And you don't also have those phases at the same time as all your friends are having.
Nope.
And so the sidelong glance is an ongoing problem, because you're bound to have a friend who really loves to go to wine country and do a lovely romantic time.
Yeah. And
you're like, and my husband thought we should go to the local pool and be on the inner
On the
tubes.
water slide.
On the inner tubes. And which, just to be clear, Luke we don't keep on doing that every year. That was just
worked once.
That was that one time, and then it's lived on in our fond memories.
No, and the thing is keeping a sense of humor, because inevitably, if you have your hopes up about the deeply meaningful romantic time you're gonna have,
it's gonna be the worst.
No, I mean, I remember once for an anniversary, Ben surprised me. He got lined up mom to watch the kids, and then I think he got tickets to an opera up in Spokane.
Yeah.
And we were going to spend the night. But then I got mastitis, wild bad. Real bad. Could not leave town. And it was all right. So we gave the tickets to
Good try.
two other people. And they went off and had a good time. And it's it's fine. It's just how it goes.
And I think that being having a sense of humor and being a good sport goes a long way towards just still liking each other when things are not going perfectly smoothly. So I'm going to say as my tip, because we really should be wrapping this up.
Yeah.
my tip is don't let things like your anniversary or your birthday or when you want to go on a date night become an obstacle in your marriage. Instead, say things like, our anniversary is coming up. Is there something that you think would be fun to do? Like, don't do that thing like waiting in silence to dock your husband points for not having thought in time.
Just see if he remembers.
He didn't even know this was a special day.
Yeah.
It was going to be so special that I decided to do this to it. When I was really little, I had a birthday. This is the flesh gone rogue. I already had like a kind of a hallmark of getting swats on my birthday because you
swats on birthdays.
You feel invincible. Yeah. You're like, it's my day. Everyone's going to do what I want.
Runs for the border on their birthday and has to get swats.
So we were, but this one I didn't get swats on. I did, however, get high on the hog of self-pity, and I don't know why. Like, I'm not sure what it was, if I thought I should have had a party, or I should have had friends over, or something, because Mom would sometimes do fun. For you, she did more friend parties. You did, like, you had, I don't know, at least I remember some of them. But
one.
I remember... Whatever.
Maybe a couple.
Somehow it was in my mind that I ought to have one of those, and it wasn't happening. And I was just the pits. And I don't know how much of it came out, but I can remember the state of my heart.
Yeah.
Right? And specifically, I think I was on the bus coming home from school.
Yeah.
But just on the bus of woe coming home from school. And super bad times. Like, I think I came in, it was when we were living at Grandma and Grandpa's because we had a house fire. So let's all just take a moment and reflect on my mother. We're living at my grandparents' because we had a house fire, and I am full of resentment that she's not throwing me a themed birthday party. And think of that. Think of it. And so as I complain in my heart about it, and I get home and I think Mom like offered me a snack or something, and I was just really like, this is all you have to offer me on my very special day. Turns out that not only had she invited people over for a surprise party, they were all set up at a tea party upstairs. And you know what's funny is I really did not enjoy that party very much. Because I was just horrified at myself. I don't know how much of it came out. Like, I don't know how much of I don't remember getting spanked or corrected about it. I think that it may have just been a big sweltering time within. But the point is, don't be that person that your husband can never be loving enough for or never thoughtful enough.
It's like you're always scuttling your own special days.
Why? Like, why not just telegraph the news that, hey, this is coming up. I think we should do something fun. What sounds like it'd be fun to you? Instead of
you plan a surprise or you plan something fun, but try and think of others. Try and plan a thing that your husband would enjoy and not something that your friend's husband enjoys.
Yeah, and that sideways glance of being like, that couple always does these fun things.
Right, they go on autumn walks.
It's like, well, guess what? You're not them. So there's that.
Yeah.
I'm like, be your own people.
No, if your husband likes to fish, well, do that.
Find a way to be fun about that. Sometimes I've heard really great stories, but of course I'm not going to be able to think of them right now, but of that kind of thing where women are like, all right, so this is how... Like, this is what he loves. This is how I'm going to be that person who comes alongside and is his good friend in this.
And makes it more fun.
Yeah, but, like, more fun for him also.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Makes it more fun for him.
Yes. Not
rather than just coming and turning it into a different event that he doesn't enjoy.
Right, and there's a lot of, who was it? I remember one that I thought was hilarious. It was somebody's husband who just loved fishing. Real hardcore.
Okay.
And she, not so much.
Okay.
But she was into fiber stuff. So she started carrying, whenever he wanted to go fishing, she'd load up her spinning wheel and stuff. And wherever he got out to fish, she'd just get her stuff out and spin.
That's
and
hilarious.
I'm like, see, why not be cool like that?
Make it work.
Why not?
That's the thing.
All right,
Find
so
what works.
look, did we get past the yips a little bit?
Maybe.
Yippee-ki-yay, we finished up an episode.
As long as the phone cooperates.
As long as the recording goes through.
Yeah, guys, we hope we're back on the saddle.
I was just going to say that. It's
Really?
almost like we're sisters or
Almost.
something. Yeah, well,
Almost.
anyways, enjoy your
All right.
date nights,
Have
whether
fun.
they be at an opera or at the water park.
Or just get some wine.
And conk out before you watch the show.
All right.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.